It is now October the 10th of 2020. This is a mid-fall update for my garden. And if you saw my previous update in the garden, I had pulled up all of the corn and beans and squash that were growing here and planted a cover crop of vetch and Siberian kale on the 27th of September. Now it is currently October the 10th, and finally the vetch is sprouting. It probably sprouted sometime earlier in the week, probably on the Thursday when I wasn't out here in the garden. And good news, all of the Siberian kale is sprouting. You can see the sprouts there. And over here as well, I am glad that there wasn't any severe erosion. I was a little concerned with the ditch I dug around the bed. That's good news. The kale sprouted, and the vetch is doing well here. I'm a little concerned about rabbits eating the vetch. So far, no damage, but I don't know what to expect. With the damage from on the corn earlier in the year, I'm concerned that the rabbits might go ahead and start nibbling the sprouts. Next to it, of course, here are the sprouts of the Chinese kale, also called yodafa. Finally, if you saw the previous week's updates, these were already sprouting. They haven't grown much from the previous week. Thankfully, the sprouts are still intact and doing pretty well until the time when we finally have to pull up the neighbor's tomatoes. Pumping out a few tomatoes, but it's getting to the point of the year where late blight is finally catching up to the plants, and the weather's becoming too cool for the plants to begin pumping out fruits. And over here are this is the romaine lettuce. Finally setting out true leaves, but still too small to eat. Well, I'm hoping there is no lettuce recall this year. If anybody remembers, in 2019 fall there was a recall for romaine lettuce. Some unscrupulous farmers were using fecal water to water the crops, and of course that led to an E. coli outbreak. Hoping if such a thing happens again, I have a set of clean lettuce. Now let's go over to the other bed where I had the lamb's quarters. Yesterday on October the 9th, I finally harvested the lamb's quarters. The seed heads were shattering, so I went ahead and cut up the plant and put it in a bag to dry inside to prevent it from molding. Not much left here. There is the lettuce, mostly the Aswan lettuce and some romaine lettuce. So I ended up harvesting the lamb's quarters yesterday, and all that's left here is this pit. I put the lamb's quarters into a bag to dry inside to reduce exposure to fluctuating humidity so it doesn't get moldy. And hopefully in a few weeks I can show you how to winnow lamb's quarter seeds. Right here, I let a few cowpea plants stay alive. There's only 2 pea pods on here though. I'm not sure if I should go ahead and let the cowpeas mature or just pull them up and plant the milkweed here. But got these 2 cowpea pods I'm waiting on. In the meantime, here are what's left of the tomatoes. These are a kind of hybrid Roma tomato, I think, or some kind of Roma tomato I never heard about. I've told you already, probably. Still pumping out some tomatoes at the end of the season. I had saved seeds from this plant earlier in the year, but I didn't create a video from it because there are already plenty of excellent tutorials on saving tomato seeds online. Here's the horizontal plant currently. It's not shattering yet, but it is losing leaves. I might be doing some research on when to harvest horizontally. It is more domesticated than lamb's quarters, so it might have been selected for non-shattering seed heads. In the meantime, I'm going to continue letting the plant mature. Next to it, of course, here's the one amaranth plant that actually set seed. Also not shattering yet. Based on what I read, though, this kind of amaranth does shatter when it's mature. So I will have to let this plant fully mature before harvesting it. The same black mustard we saw earlier in the year. And it's doing pretty well. But I'm gonna have to pull it up in a few weeks because I wanted to plant some milkweed here. There is some damage from cabbage butterfly caterpillars. See right there? Whenever I see the caterpillars, I do pick them off and kill them, but it doesn't stop them from appearing anyway. And in case I forgot to explain, here is the lettuce. It's finally reached a stage where I can go ahead and harvest the leaves. But unfortunately, I won't be able to get much more than a few weeks of harvest because I need to be planting some milkweed here. So, that was this part of the garden. Let me go ahead and move on to the other beds. Because I sowed this bed here 3 days later than the other one, not as many of the seeds have sprouted yet. But there are a few of the Siberian kale. Let me see if I can find, like right here. Zoom in. Right there. There are a few seedlings that sprouted. Well, that's good. That's pretty good news. I am hoping these plants get established before the weather really gets cold, so I have a cover crop here. But it's still mostly just bare soil. Hopefully the soil doesn't erode too much before the seeds sprout. Now let me go show you the last section of the garden. Well, second to last. Let me go ahead and show you the second to last part of the garden on the side of the neighbor's house. Here are the carrots. They look pretty healthy right now. And based on when I planted the carrots, it will soon be time to go ahead and pull them out. I will save maybe about 2 to 4 roots from each carrot variety for a seed next year. Other than that, I'm going to enjoy the carrot roots. Back here, of course, here are the carrots I planted later. I don't know if they're going to mature in time before the frost hits. They're still tiny. I'm still learning on how to stagger carrot crops. And a little further on, here are the mustard crops. Unfortunately, there are still cabbage butterflies laying eggs on the plants, and I have to periodically pull off the caterpillars. But I've still been getting enough of the greens to enjoy them every other day this past week. But the caterpillars get annoying from time to time. There is one species, the big cabbage butterfly. I'll put down the scientific name under the description. I'll put down the scientific name in the bottom of the video. But right here, of course, the arugula, and I'll go ahead and harvest some this evening and serve it with dinner. And of course, finally, the 7-top turnips are setting out true leaves. So, looks like I may actually be able to taste some of their greens this fall, which is good news. And as usual, the spinach is growing very slowly. Keeping an eye on it, make sure the squirrels don't dig nuts right on top of the plants. But I still have a few new spinach plants that are maturing. Not much to see here. It's essentially not much different from last week. Let's go ahead and move on to what's left of the pole beans under the sunflowers. Over here, there are like 3 bean vines that are still intact, and they're still pumping out beans. There's this one here. There's this one here. And there's one more. This one here. I'm concerned if I pull up the vines too early that the beans might not be viable or tasting good if I dry them. So I'm going to have to let the vines continue maturing before I end up pulling them up. And here's some of the neighbor's sunflower heads. Finally got some of the birds to eat them. But of course, they're still hanging here. Really big head here. So that's about it. And hope you enjoyed the video. And if you like this kind of content, you can go ahead and subscribe. But oh well. Have a nice day. Goodbye.